Christmas themed shirt, sweater.
Christmas.
Christmas? I hardly know
Christmas.
him.
Yeah.
So as you know, we're all devout Catholics. So instead of reviewing a movie, we're just gonna read from the Bible today.
Nice.
I'm just finding out about this as are you, audience.
Let's get into it.
My Catholicism.
Let's
Just
get
kidding.
into
Like
Ecclesiastes.
Like all Catholics, we
Yeah.
don't read the Bible. I'm the only Catholic.
Mhm.
That's why I'm the only one going to heaven. Screw you guys. But before we start our special Christmas episode, part 1 of 2, let me tell you that the first thing is good news for everyone who donated. We did make enough funds to make our movies. So next year, you're gonna make it. For everyone who didn't donate, you don't get to see it, buddy. When we're winning Oscars, you know those famous horror movie Oscars.
If you ask nicely, though, you can probably see it.
Yeah, you'll probably be able to watch it. I mean, it's better for me if you watch it, to be honest. So now's your chance.
You know-
If you're watching this in the future when it's out, but we haven't made it yet. That's first good
horror
news.
Movies win Oscars these days, though. It could happen. You never
Yeah.
know.
When was the last horror movie that made it win an Oscar?
Didn't Get Out.
Oppenheimer.
That's...
Damn, I'm a film guy. Number 2, good news. So we made a short last year called The Monster. I can't tell you what it's about. It's about 2 people having a very lively conversation. It just got in. It's going to premiere at the Las Cruces International Film Festival in April. We found out today. We're going to have a post today because this comes out on Wednesday. So check it out. That's pretty cool. It's a fun short. It'll probably also be online eventually, so you'll be able to check it out. Those of you who didn't pitch in, you get a lot of free stuff. You're gaming the system.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for everyone who pitched in. Thanks for everyone who watches our other stuff like our shorts. You don't have to do that, so we appreciate it. One last thing, which is pretty cool. We got we'll post about this, but we got our year-end review, and this year we gained 13,000 subscribers, which is a very large amount. So thanks everyone who's come, watches.
Yeah.
They go up and down, but we appreciate all of you guys. So for your holiday gift, we're doing a special night episode, and I think all of us are intoxicated. So
No.
we're just hanging out.
Getting there.
We're having a good time. So on today's special Christmas episode, we're going to talk some Christmas horror for the next 2 weeks. I feel like everyone watches Christmas horror. I feel like no one kind of reviews it. So we're going to talk about, we already did the review with Josh, the other Josh, of the original Black Christmas. So maybe we'll see a return of something.
No, I never saw that one. Wait, which Josh?
Today, we're covering 2015's Krampus, directed by Michael Dougherty, who went on to direct the good Godzilla. No, not that one, the other one. He also wrote it with Zach Shields. Thank you, Zach Shields and Todd Casey, the writers, for having easy to pronounce names. Starring Adam Scott. Not like you, Michael Dougherty, or whatever your name is.
I think it's Dougherty.
Yeah, there you go. You see how he tricked me? And then he made me watch the bad King Kong versus Godzilla movie? That's 2 strikes against you, Michael. Yeah, you're good.
They're all a little bad. But...
Adam Scott stars Adam Scott as the dad, Toni Collette as the mom. Toni Collette, it's going to be a good horror movie. She's in it. And then that's kind of it. Everyone else you've seen, like Allison Tolman from the first season of Fargo, is a real breakout role. David Kocher from my favorite character in Anchorman. He plays Champ.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. Nobody ever thinks of this line. It's the one where Paul Rudd tells him, where he goes, I want to move in with you. And then Paul Rudd goes, how about you sit a couple of innings out?
Yeah.
It's my favorite joke. But, Josh, why don't you tell us, why don't you take us on a tale of the Krampus in rhyming fashion?
So I don't know how to rhyme. 'Twas the night before. No, I won't do it.
He almost gave in.
I committed for half a sentence.
I know. Just commit to the bit,
please.
So this family is your typical modern family. Only the son is like a real Christmas hound. He loves Christmas, but the rest of the family kind of doesn't care. they have these
Yeah.
like bad in-laws coming, and the son's like, I sure wish people cared about Christmas like me. And little did he know that wish becomes a curse that affects the whole family.
That's true.
Is
Yeah.
that okay?
And then
All right.
Krampus does things
Yeah.
to the family for the next
I
90
feel
minutes or
like
so.
Yeah.
you like. I like when Josh does it because he focuses on like one thing that's like kind of important, but that you don't really have to focus on when you're giving the description of the movie.
Yeah.
Like you could just be like, "Oh, Krampus visits a bad family," but then you're like focused on the kid and his Christmas obsession,
Well,
which
no,
is true.
because
And
that's
it's a
how it
big part of it.
starts.
That is the crux.
We should also
But-
say a crux of this movie is that this child has learned German because the grandma
Oh,
Because
I
it's
will
only-
say-
speaks German.
So here's the thing about Krampus. You gotta be in the mood for Krampus, but when you're in the mood for it, it's quite a lot of fun. One of the funny things about it is like it's like a normal family, and then they just have like 100-year-old German grandma who talks like she's been in America for 2 days, even though she
Yeah.
supposedly has been there her entire life.
Yeah.
And so like, but you're just like, they don't even try to explain why she talks like that. She talks like she's like trying to set up a golem every time she sees them, and it's like, all right, well, whatever you guys are doing.
Yeah. They don't live in like a
yes.
German town. They don't live in like a place that explains
Yeah.
it. It's just Adam Scott's mom is
Yeah.
German as
Is
hell.
extremely, yeah.
And like
Yeah.
Adam Scott is not like, oh, well, because she's playing such a German character, let me at least attempt a German accent. No,
Right. Mm-mm.
there's no German.
There's one moment where that happens, but it's very brief. It might as well not have even happened.
But yeah, what did you guys think of Krampus?
Well, are we going to talk in rhyme, or are we?
No.
not doing that. Are we rhyming?
Only if you can
That
for
would
the
be
next
way too
5
hard,
minutes,
yeah.
then we will.
I mean, I can try and say my review in rhyme, but I'm going to
Yeah,
be coordinating it as I go.
I'm 100% down for you to try to give your first initial thoughts in rhyme.
Okay.
Or go as long as you need.
I'd seen Krampus once before. The first time it wasn't much of a chore. This time was different, though. I fucking lost it. That's all I got. That's all I got.
know it's hard to
You
rhyme on
almost
the
had it.
spot unless
But
I
see,
know,
that's
I
the
know.
thing.
You're not B Rabbit. All right?
Yeah,
I
It's
wanna
never
be.
gonna
I
happen.
want to be.
I know.
Well, so I
wanna
guess
be
I really
Rabbit.
don't know how I feel about this movie because I don't want to. It wasn't actually a chore to watch, but there's some interesting things tonally with this movie that didn't quite connect.
You know what?
I
This
think-
movie, the big thing I will say, if it had an R rating, it would be fully tonally consistent. But
Yeah.
because it doesn't, you can tell where they pulled back.
Right,
But
kind
I
of
will
like Dune.
say that there is something about this movie where I think it's like everything they did is right. Like I
Yes.
like that. Like overall, this story is about a family who kind of lost its way and it has to find its way back. So it kind of keeps a Christmas message.
Mhm.
The creature designs are all realistic. Like they use they're not realistic, but they use
Yeah.
because Krampus attacks with like the toys of Christmas and gingerbread man, and they all are very inventive. They look super cool. They're all practical effects. Is the word I was
Yeah.
looking for.
Yeah.
Even Krampus himself is a big practical. He's like a huge monster. He's wearing like a face of a previous Santa that he killed. He has like huge horns. All that stuff is great.
Mhm.
But like when they mixed it all together, it's like it works when you're looking at each scene individually, but as a whole,
Yeah.
there's something missing where it doesn't feel complete.
Right. Like
Well,
it's
that's
like
like-
it's
okay,
so
like,
dark. Oh, where are you
The
gonna say?
very
Yeah.
the very it's like less than the sum of its parts in a weird way. It's like I respect it more than I like it. The very beginning is like a slow motion, like funny montage of like a crazy retail like shopping, the classic,
Yeah.
which does not fit into. It's just like, oh, that's like a funny Christmas thing to let you know you're watching like a comedy. But the rest of the movie is just like a haunted house. You
Yeah,
know,
it's not
just
because
like,
that opening
it's
seems
a
about
home
like
invasion.
capitalism, kind of. That's like about like
Yeah, you
Right.
think it'll be a
merchandise.
jingle all the way, like,
Right.
oh, they're going to be going to all these places, and Chris, it's like, no, they get to the house, they
Mhm.
stay there. You're never going to see.
Right. It's not about spending too much money on Christmas or about how Christmas is bad. The movie is about
Yeah.
it's a genuine Christmas film where it's about the loss of the Christmas spirit and re-finding out what that means. And it's
Yeah,
Right.
like the
but
whole movie does not connect, like Josh was saying, like to that opening sequence. Like it is not thematically related to that opening sequence
But that's a
whatsoever.
really
and
well
I
done
think
sequence
It
too.
is.
You
It
know,
is.
it's
Yeah.
I
like
one of the things is like okay, and it's a little bit unfair to compare it to Home Alone, but I'm gonna do it. So when you watch Home Alone, like there's this that first opening sequence is very similar to the opening sequence when the whole family gets together in this one, where like you're meeting all the characters, you're kind of seeing how they react to Kevin, and like in that sequence, everyone is kind of mean to Kevin. Like that's kind of the whole
Right.
point that drives him wanting to stay home.
Yeah.
But
It's like the
like
bit.
they're mean in the way that families mean to each other, where like the mom is too busy to really pay attention and she snaps at him. The older brother or the older cousins are just being like jerks in the way
Just
those
shitty.
people are being
Yeah.
jerks. Like that one cousin who pisses the bed. He's not even trying to be mean, he just pisses the bed.
Yeah.
But like all that kind of forms together so that it's like I understand why Kevin is very frustrated with his family at this point.
Yeah.
But then like once like the whole family is there trying to like fix it, you like understand that like no, that was like just a 1 day thing. Now that they know Kevin's gone, of course they're worried about him and everything. In this movie, they're such mean people to each other even from the beginning that we never like
yeah.
we don't get enough of that. Like there's a couple of scenes where Toni Collette and her sister kind of like oh, I like we've lived through like hell before because they also bring their aunt and their aunt. It's kind of implied that the
Oh yeah,
aunt
the
was
aunt's
like
like
really strict,
miserable.
Yeah.
yeah, and like
Major
the
Yeah.
worst.
alcoholic.
And they have this moment where they kind of like, oh man, remember when we used to like live under this? And that's a nice moment, but they needed more of those and less of the moments where everyone is so mean to each other that it's kind of annoying to watch them talk.
Yeah, like
Right.
why
Right.
did they ever get a like Adam Scott's the classic like overworked like just one more business call, honey.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I'm going to
like
the
and it's
office. I
just
gotta
like
talk to some guys
Yeah,
yeah,
or
just like
whatever it
everyone
says.
hates each other.
Yeah.
And the daughter's just kind of the like whatever, I don't care about this like teen, you
Yeah.
know.
yeah. And I think it could have worked, but the major flaw is also like the only thing that makes sense in the movie is that the grandma, because she's German and also kind of the holder of lore, she's going to be the expert in this movie.
Mhm.
But you needed someone else at least to be as nice as the kid was.
Yeah.
And like it should have been the grandma, and it is technically the grandma, but because they have her played so weird and like disconnected, you don't get it from the grandma. So it's just an annoying little kid who's like nice, but you don't care about him because he's annoying.
Right. It's almost like the grandma is like so small in the movie that it's like the little boy is not the only one who can see her. But if that would have been like the
Yeah.
twist in this movie,
Yeah.
I would have believed it because it's like I think only
Yeah.
Adam Scott is the only person who says anything else to her
Well,
one time.
like addresses her as existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been an interesting subplot. Like,
Yeah.
because so eventually you find out that the grandma got them all cursed, and that's why Krampus is going. And then like the kid writes a letter to Santa, and then they find it and they read it. But like that to me, that was like the scene I don't like that scene at all because it's like, why wouldn't the mom stop the kids from reading it out loud,
She was
especially
in the
after
kitchen.
like,
She was out of the room.
Right,
oh,
but
but doesn't she come in?
no,
And
no,
doesn't
no. The dad is there though.
The
One of the
dad
parents
is
is
there,
there.
Yeah.
It's like
And-
he's just
and even like, but the kid's mom is there, like the cousins who are reading it.
Oh,
And
right.
she should have
right,
been like,
right.
"Hey, don't read that." Like
Uh,
once it started to get really specific.
Yeah, it's an embarrassing
You know,
letter
'cause
to
the
have
kid-
been read because he's like talking about like
Yeah,
all the
Oh,
problems with his family that everyone knows exists. But he's like, I wish me and mom and my dad loved each other. I wish me and my sister could hang out again. Like it's all this like very private stuff. That's sweet.
yeah,
It's
like and it's like
embarrassing.
just sad.
Yeah.
Although I do
Yeah.
like the turn where he's like, and I hope you help my like poor cousins whose lives are
I know.
terrible.
Like,
Yeah.
that's honestly like
our,
I-
our shitty trailer trash
Right.
cousins. Yeah.
like I know like why like the parent should have definitely stopped, but I did like how
No,
how far it
it's
went
like
into
that's
the
a
letter
funny
of, like,
turn.
how he summed up, like 'cause
Yeah.
I feel like the one thing that was
It's-
I didn't like I haven't seen like a lot of Christmas movies before this, like Hallmark Christmas movies, but now I've seen a whole bunch just because we watch a lot of those every year now. And
Yeah.
like he really
Being
is
married,
like
that's
the
what
girl
life
who
is.
leaves the big city to go back home for Christmas and like relearns the meaning of like the holiday spirit. Like this movie is totally a Christmas movie. And instead of like this little boy like relearning Christmas as he like writes his list, like he throws his list away and it takes like a dark turn. So it's like It's like an
Yeah.
anti-Christmas movie in a way. But I did like how genuine that Christmas letter was to Santa. Like how it
Yeah.
was just like so from the heart, and like it was pretty crushing whenever you got it read out loud for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem because then he goes up and he rips up the thing. He rips up the letter and he like says I don't want Santa anymore and that's when Krampus like is cold, I guess.
Right,
But like so now the problem is that you need someone to connect to, but everyone hates Christmas.
right, and each
So
other.
like yeah, like what's the lesson that anyone's going to learn cuz like the kid I think that's the problem. He's like the little boy there's no character arc for him. He's
Right.
just coming to for like he should have been the selfish greedy one or something and then he learns to love his family but like since that doesn't happen he's already good and then he learns to continue to be good like it doesn't make
Right,
sense.
he learns
Yeah,
like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. I don't,
Yeah.
and that's where it's almost like there's a lot of parts in this movie where like you have kind of a genuine moment undercut because he does like at the end
Mm-hmm.
kind of be like, I'm sorry, like I didn't mean
Yeah.
for this to happen, and then Krampus just like whatever, like he doesn't care,
yeah,
and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, it's like they'll kind of like turn an emotional moment into a joke, and you're like, well, it's kind of a comedy, but it's almost not comedic enough to like
yeah,
hit when it does do that, you know?
right.
It is very weird. It's like such a weird blend of
And,
genres, you
and
know?
I like what you guys were
Yeah.
saying a second ago about like, because it's like they kind of set up the kid as being the main character in a way because he is the one who like his action is the one that starts the entire plot of the Krampus
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But then as soon as Krampus comes, he is like absolutely not the main character, and it's like not really Adam Scott, it's
Right.
not really Champ from Anchorman, it's not really Toni Collette. They're all just kind of like they all have as much work in the movie, but it's like yeah, there isn't really like a centerpiece. Like it's not we're not there's no POV.
Yeah.
There's no real point of view that we're like looking at.
Yeah. And I
Right.
think because of that it makes it hard to kind of remember a lot of what's going on because like
Yeah.
I really like that movie and there's like a lot of cool sequences but even watching it this time like I remember that the daughter so like what happens is as soon as they call Krampus he lets a blizzard out so everyone's stuck there's no electricity
Yeah.
and so they're just kind of stuck in the house and then the daughter's like oh can I go to my boyfriend's house it's like a block away and they're like yeah I mean it's daytime like go ahead and so she goes over there and then Krampus like attacks and then he takes her. I completely forgot that whole sequence happened just because, like, again,
Yeah.
because they don't have any agency, it's hard to remember, like, oh, this is where this person died.
Like this. So that
And
is
also,
sick though when he's like jumping on the
I know, that
rooftops.
was
I know,
good.
he is
That
So
was good.
cool.
That was probably the scariest part of the movie.
Krampus is the best. Like, the creatures are the best part of this movie.
Yeah,
The snowman
he's
and
so
Krampus.
like whatever he gets to like do stuff, you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so much, like, there's, like, this weird thing that I hadn't thought of where they kind because Krampus is always, like, presented as, like, a goat man. But in this one, they kind of, like, imply that he's also kind of part of the reindeer. It's, like, a weird mix of them. So,
Yeah.
like, he can move. He jumps, like, high, like, kind of like the reindeers. And so it makes it, like, there's so much thought put into Krampus and his minions
Hmm.
that you're almost, like, a little bit angry that there wasn't as much thought put into the character.
Like the kid,
Right.
it's almost the most Godzilla movies problem where it's like, oh, all these monsters are so cool, and then you focus on the humans, and you're like,
Yeah. Get me out of here.
eh.
And I think it's like it wouldn't have been as bad if they didn't focus because there's a lot of like just talking and just kind of reiterating the same things. But like and like there's like this cool scene where the grandma like explains the legend of Krampus and they like make it look like the old like
Oh, it's like a
Frosty the
storybook.
Snowman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
make it
Like
look
Tim
like Rudolph the
Burton-y.
Red-Nosed
Yeah.
Reindeer, those Christmas specials. And it's like, man, this is such a cool thing. But there's not like you said, there's just not a real character to hang on to. So it's kind of hard to like get fully invested into the story when that's happening.
Right. And like once the talk about tunnel stuff even more, like once the blizzard comes in, it's like it's daytime for about 20 seconds and then it quickly becomes like so snowy that like the rest of the movie kind of takes place at night and they don't have any power. And so it's thematically dark and the story is dark, but like the movie itself is like actually just like very dark and like very oppressive. And it's
Yeah.
like, but they're still trying to have these kind of like one-liners with each other, and like everyone's
Yeah.
still kind of like sarcastic and like witty. And so, but the only time I ever felt scared in the movie was whenever there were some creepy snowmen outside the window. Those were creepy. Krampus jumping on the roofs, that was creepy. But for how oppressive this movie was, I like did not feel really any tension ever. Like, I never really was that worried about anyone
Yeah,
dying. I didn't really think that. I don't anything was that
I think
scary.
too it's because, and that's like the PG-13
Yeah.
thing where you see people get taken, but nothing like, because with how much these monsters do, it's all very like kind of wacky violence,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never feel it because it's like, oh, it's like a Jack in the Box. I could just kick it away, and that kind of
Right.
works,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
a
very,
dog eats a gingerbread
yeah,
man. That's gonna kill someone.
yeah,
yeah, and I think like that is like I think tonally that's a big problem because you do have like kids being eaten,
Right.
but then like they'll make like a like cookies over joke,
Mhm.
like, and it's like, okay, what am I supposed to be taking from this scene?
Right.
And then they do the thing that like that people who don't understand like one-liners do, where like they'll have someone almost get killed and then they'll say a one-liner, but then they get killed right after, and it's like, well, then you've kind of defeated
Yeah.
the purpose of both the one-liner and the kill
right,
after,
Right.
because you delete the tension, and then something happens, so you're not like the tension doesn't raise back
Mhm.
up; it just stays deflated,
Yeah.
and then now you don't really care about the character who just got
Right.
killed.
They're
you
a
know,
punchline
like,
now. They're post punchline.
Yeah.
but
exactly.
but do you think if it was like Evil Dead, like hyper violent, it would have played
Totally.
better? Where it's like
100%.
so absurd that you're
I-
like,
The
all
art
right,
thing, I think, is
And I
really,
think,
really
like,
real.
yeah.
See, and I think like I think that there was two Krampus's movies, and like that letter kind of goes right down the middle, because I do agree that that letter is very heartfelt and very real, but like the movie that Krampus is trying to make doesn't, like, the movie that letter is written for should have been a much darker, kind of more subversive, like
Right, like a
psychological
Hereditary
movie.
of Christmas or
And-
something.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and like the movie that Krampus is kind of like a creep show, Tales from the Crypt style
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
And like they keep trying to mix, but they don't. Like there's just scenes where they talk about how depressing their lives are, and it's like, okay, but also a Jack in the Box is gonna look like a big anaconda and eat someone in like 2
Right.
minutes.
Right.
So maybe cool it with the story about how your mom beats you or whatever.
Right.
You know?
Or like just only talk
Very,
about
like,
that. Like maybe that's Krampus is
Yeah.
giving you a ghost of your mom coming into your room again and like
Right.
traumatizes all of us.
I did like because at one point, because they do kind of like I said, this movie is like well thought out, even if tonally doesn't work, because like first they're like in the main room, then they kind of move to the attic. They're like, oh, we could do
Yeah.
like this, and then they get attacked there. Tony Collette gets like strung up in the attic with like Christmas lights,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, oh, this is so weird, because in Hereditary
yeah.
that also
yeah,
happens, but then her head gets sawed clean
Right,
off her
right.
body. So it's like, so Ari Aster's like, I'm taking this a step further.
Yeah, he's like, let's do it for real.
let's make
And,
the
like,
movie I wanted.
And I do want to reiterate how good like the monsters look. Like that Jack in the Box thing is so cool.
Yeah,
Like it opens up like it, and it has like 3
Oh
chains or
yeah.
whatever.
It's scary.
It eats someone at one point. Yeah, it's super
Yeah.
cool. And like that's like I think that makes it more frustrating because everything is like
oh, the elves,
so well
the
done.
elves are
The
so
elves
cool.
are
Yeah, they're like
in
weirdly
They have like these like
sized.
wooden masks.
Yeah. Their
Yeah.
heads are
Yeah.
too big.
because I feel like a lot of times where they do Christmas stuff, they'll do like, or where they do evil Krampus stuff, like they only focus on Krampus and they don't think about like the entire Santa lore and how to corrupt it. And like that's the best part about this movie is that he really thought about like, okay, the Santa has elves and he gives toys and like he has reindeers. Like, how do I make that evil?
Mhm.
And it really works on every step where everything he thinks of is really creative in one way or
Yeah.
another.
Yeah, and you can even see like the big beats, like kind of like once, because it's like first it's toys and then it's elves, and then like you hear the bells that like signify Krampus is coming,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then the family has to like go out to like basically like be like, oh, we need to get to the snowplow.
Yeah, they
know,
want to
'cause
go to the snowplow.
and it's like, and Adam Scott's like, everyone hold on to each other, and you're like, you could tell this is kind of supposed to be like the kind of cathartic, like, oh, the family's finally coming
Right,
together
right.
moment, but it's like, yeah, but it's like the guy from Anchorman, so I don't really like feel anything. I don't know.
And it's
yeah.
also like it's kind of that forced attrition where they're doing it because they have to, but they don't ever like. I think that's the thing is that even when characters like get killed, a lot of times they're kind of trying to preserve themselves. Very few times are they like trying to save someone
Yeah.
else. And I think again that just like the moral of the story is that you should kind of care about your family, and you should always like, it's gonna be rough, but that's what family is. But the actions of the movie is like, no, you should just look out for yourself.
Right. In your own.
Yeah,
Your own
it's-
So they
schlock.
kind of are in
Yeah.
conflict. Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, it's not like if you want to like think of like where they just pull it off. You wouldn't even think of this probably because Edgar Wright's been in the doghouse for so long. But Shaun of the Dead, Cooley has like, here's every character's personality, and here's
Yeah.
how they either like die because of it or persevere because
Right,
of it,
right.
like in the face of this like horror. And in this one, it's just kind of like, I don't know. Then they fight gingerbread men. Then
Mhm.
Yeah.
they go out here.
Well,
It's never really like personality
Totally, yeah.
based,
The characters
Yeah.
they all have distinct
Yeah.
characters, but they really aren't that deep. You really don't know the relationship. Like
And
Anchorman guy doesn't like Adam Scott because one's a country guy and one's like a city guy. That's their only relationship.
Yeah.
It doesn't go any deeper than that.
and there was so many ways, like the two daughters are always wearing hunting
Mhm.
gear, and like they kind of make a reference that the dad wanted boys instead of girls. So like maybe they set up traps for the toys, and that's how they stop them. Like you could even do it where like maybe you find out that the country dad actually is a fraud and he doesn't know how to live
Oh
in the
yeah,
country.
he's not really a
And he's like,
survivalist. at
he's
all.
like a rich
Yeah.
spoiled kid, and Adam Scott has to like step up and take like. But instead of doing that, they like, again, none of them change at
Yeah.
any level. Like none of them step up to like, you think of Ripley or even Sean, going back to Shaun of the Dead. Like Sean at the beginning of the movie is a huge loser, and by the end of it, he's like the hero of the
Right.
story. Like none of them have that kind of movement. And I think like
Right.
Sean and like like you think of Gremlins, there's the part where Phoebe Cates talks about her dad getting stuck in the fireplace. And like that scene works because it like the whole movie is so serious up until that point that you're like, you kind of like, it kind of sets you up for how dark it's about to
Mhm.
get as the gremlin. Like that's the darkest point of the movie. So when the gremlins start eating people, you're not like, oh man, this is out of
Right.
place.
It
And
all has a
so-
level.
but, like,
it all
in this
scaffolds
one-
that. Yeah.
Like we're
Mhm.
building up, but like this movie stays at the top the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And like it never, and so like it's hard to like to move it.
I think that almost is almost like with the like kind of how you described, like it starts snowing so quickly that it's like pretty much night for the last
Yeah.
hour of the movie, but it's like it almost would have been better if like, oh, first it's like light snow and then it's like it's getting darker and darker until like, because the ending is just like in pitch black, but the whole movie almost
I know.
isn't
Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
You
They
know,
got
so
too
it's
dark
almost
too
like-
fast for sure.
if you almost
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think, and I don't even think just look wise. I think
Mhm.
even story wise, because they kill the daughter. She's like the
Right.
first person that they
She dies
take.
like immediately.
And you're kind of like, and we've spent so much time with the daughter and the son, and like
Right.
we know that relationship that they don't get along.
She's
and
definitely
so
the most.
like,
She's the most.
you're
She's the most
expecting that-
characterization up until that point, besides the kid. for sure.
yeah, and then they immediately kill her. So that, I think that first kill kind of makes you not care about any of the characters, because again, it's a wasted time that we've learned so much about her just for her to disappear so
Right.
quickly. And also just like, save the cat wise, you don't kill one of the main family members unless there's a real good
Right.
reason for it
Mhm.
at the beginning. And like, of course, like there's always subversion, but this movie doesn't feel like it's subverting anything. It just feels like they had to kill
Right.
someone.
right,
And the easiest excuse was the daughter to go.
because it's
Right.
so straightforward otherwise. It's like
Yeah.
you don't subvert much.
That should have raised the stakes so much.
Although,
Didn't raise
I
the
don't-
stakes at all. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Should we get into like the ending? Because that's very like
Yeah, we
because
can.
it's. I mean, to me, the weird thing is, I mean, one, I guess no one is killed.
Well, so spoilers,
Kind of.
guys. So at the end, Krampus like throws them all in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hell or
they all
whatever.
get thrown into like a his big Santa sack, but
Yeah, which
it's
is-
like a hell dimension. You think
Yeah.
that they're just gonna die, but then they just wake up and it's like Christmas morning and everything's fine, and they kind of remember what
Yeah.
happened, but Krampus is watching, so if they're bad, he will come.
Yeah, the
kill
main
them.
kid remembers everything.
Yeah,
And
see,
after he pulls that ornament out, everyone kind of starts getting like Vietnam War flashbacks.
yeah,
Yeah, which I took to mean that they were in like, because then it kind of like
It's
it
cemetery
zooms
mats.
out and you find out that there's like No. Okay, I thought that, but it's like I thought. Okay, they're all trapped in snow globes, but apparently the common consensus is that no, he just has like surveillance on them, like watching them to not be bad. But I was like, yeah, I thought it was like Cemetery Man, where they're trapped in the snow globe in Christmas,
See,
right?
much like Cemetery Man, I feel like if you look at it that way, the movie doesn't work even a little bit because then they're trapped. Like they didn't learn a lesson and they're still in hell, which is I think too depressing for how.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but it's also like
if you look at it well as surveillance wise, then at least they have another chance, which would make sense for what the
right. I like the surveillance idea too.
So it's kind of like
I agree. It's stronger, but I thought the other one until I was like, did I miss that? Like I was like, what is the intention here? Just because I do think it's too dark, but the movie like undercuts itself so much that
Like,
I
why
thought
wouldn't they
that's
do
what
it
it was. You know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're just in hell, I guess. Fuck it. You know?
And I think
I trust you.
I think the ending is the thing to me that kind of saves it if you look at it that way. Because then it is a straightforward Christmas movie. Like it kind of goes in weird ways to get there, but it is about a family learning to like love each other again and not give a shit about like all the extra noise. But I still I think that like what's frustrating about this movie and also King Kong versus Godzilla is that
bring it back. Let's bring it back.
I know that there's a good movie in there, and I know that there's a really great movie, and that's not to say this movie's it's not terrible or anything. It's just that like everything, like if they had put all the effort that they put into the Krampus character, and put it into some of the human characters, even like one or two, this movie would have been like 10 out of 10. It would have been like classic. But as it is, it's just like it's not bad, and I usually watch it every Christmas just because it's one of the better Christmas horror films. But it never hits the mark that it really is going for, and that kind of makes it a little disappointing.
I also don't watch Christmas horror films, so I'm not like in the genre as much. So I didn't know if it's like this is the cream of the crop or there's like a whole bunch I've just missed.
I definitely haven't seen a lot.
No, Christmas horror films, they're good because none of them are good at all.
Right.
I've seen the one where the guy says "garbage day" and shoots the other guy, which I believe is a Christmas horror movie, but I've only seen that clip. I've never seen.
I don't know if I know that one. What is that movie?
That's Silent Night, Deadly
Garbage
Night.
Day. But I think it might be like the sequel or something.
I've seen this. I've definitely seen the Christmas that we also did on the podcast.
Oh yeah. Well, and then no, that wasn't the latest. That was the 2003
Is there one after that?
one.
I've never seen any of the Black Christmas.
Yeah, there was a newer one.
Black Christmas?
I didn't know there was a different. Isn't there a different?
No, that was with the other Josh.
Which show? Who are you talking about?
He was like a guest that came on. Like I don't know why Josh is like under the assumption that he's the only one with the name Josh.
It's a very uncommon name.
Really what I've ever met.
Like Josh is like, wait, you met another Josh? How did this happen? I was like, we met another guy named Josh, bro.
I've only met one William before.
He was one of the guests. When you were on your honeymoon, because the joke was that we replaced you with a different Josh.
Okay, I never watched
we
her.
love you, whoever you are.
No.
I'm so sorry that I thought that you were this Josh reviewing Christmas.
Does he look like me, or is it just Williams just truly face blind?
Yeah, it's a little bit of it, both. But yeah, I mean, it is that thing where I think it's hard to make. I mean, Deep Red takes place over Christmas. I don't know if that counts, but it's like it's hard to mix Christmas with horror. It's just it doesn't work. But having said that, we are going to really talk about next week the only movie that it does work for. So you'll see that.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
But yeah.
I mean, that's more of a whimsical romp.
Not really very scary.
And
also, Andrew says it's a Halloween movie, even though he's wrong.
No, I didn't say it. You said it's a Halloween movie.
No, I say you watch it the night of Halloween to transition into Christmas.
Yeah, that's what you just said. It's a Halloween
That makes it a not Halloween
movie.
movie.
Gremlins. Gremlins is the obvious best Halloween horror movie.
It's because Gremlins is so good I forgot that it takes place.
It kind of transcends.
It transcends.
It's kind of like Die Hard. Yeah. It's like we always say here on the podcast that Gremlins is bigger than Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Especially Gizmo.
Right. Gremlins and Coca-Cola. And the Beatles.
Yeah, this was our review of Gremlins as well as Krampus. Gremlins.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up. I did see Gremlins in theaters recently, and they did, like, you hear a couple of chuckles when she says that speech about her dad, but it does come a little bit. It's
No,
a
it's
little
funny.
shocking.
I mean, it's so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
harsh. The
My
movie's
favorite-
mean though. Like the old woman's gonna like kill the dog like horribly.
Yeah.
Like that movie's so mean spirited,
Every-
but it works.
Everyone in that movie is a bastard except for the main character and Corey Feldman. See, you need at least
Right. You need to have a heart. You need to have a heart to
Krampus.
follow.
Yeah.
And that heart needs to
Yeah,
be
we were a bunch of haters this time. You're supposed to
We
find
found
the
some
good
good.
in it. Although I don't know, this movie has enough good stuff. I would still watch
Overall,
it.
I
Like,
don't think
it
and I don't
looks
even
really
think-
good.
I don't think we really talk shit as much as we just kind of dissected the movie and what
Yeah.
works and doesn't work. Which is really like what our goal is. Not necessarily to like sugarcoat a movie. It's just not to like say, oh, this movie sucked because like I just saw Red 1 and everyone's talking about how Red 1's terrible. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas movie.
I didn't know that was
What
going
do
to
you
come to
expect?
streaming immediately.
And
it was just also it's like it was like so
Yeah, I
expensive
know.
to make. Right? Didn't have like a huge budget.
No.
Well, from what I heard, Amazon uses the theatrical release as advertisements
To
for the
pump up
streaming
their-
release. I don't know how
That
true
makes
that
sense.
is, but
I can do that. I can do
Netflix
that.
does that. They'll put it in theaters for like a week whenever they're releasing a movie. And
I don't
then
know if that's true, but it sounds like the worst thing ever.
Streaming is
Right.
a blight
It's
on
how
Yeah.
the
the
industry.
world works
Yeah.
now.
I just saw Conclave is like available. Like, you can
Except-
watch Conclave.
I might watch that.
Except for Screenbox and Tubi, they're the only two good. And also sometimes Amazon. I know we just literally were talking shit about Amazon, but not when you're watching my movies
Yeah,
on
there's some good
Amazon.
stuff. Hulu has some good stuff too.
But watch them on Tubi; they're free there.
know.
Why would you watch?
I do
them
love
on-
Tubi.
But anyway, that was
Things
our
on
review
the
of
screen.
Krampus.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Final thoughts?
Really got away
Any
from us
final
at
thoughts?
the end. I think I would say if you've seen Gremlins and you've seen Black Christmas and you're like, I want to check out another horror film that's set around Christmas, this is probably the best one. It's top 3, not bad. It has mistakes, but I think everything that it does well is good enough to at least check
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
The special
no,
effects,
it-
the music,
the
the
monsters,
direction. Check it out for that, and it's gonna be a fun time. I would suggest watching it with friends and like not worrying so much about the plot
Yeah.
and just talking over it. That would
It's a
probably be
great
the
background
funnest way to
horror
enjoy this.
Christmas film. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Look what he's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, look at that shit.
Is that Adam Scott?
Yeah. I'm sorry,
I mean-
Adam Scott. You'll hit one of these days.
Yeah.
First torque, and then your
Yeah.
next one's coming.
Adam Scott, Dane Cook,
Yeah.
20 minutes. Let's go. No, he already hit it.
I just
It is
smoked a joint,
best
so I'm
role
feeling
ever.
kinda spacey.
Of Darren.
Feels like you're
Oh,
gonna punch
from
me in the
Step
face
Brothers.
right
No,
now.
I meant in a
Really?
leading role.
What do you- oh, you
So, I mean, Step Brothers is the best
I know,
movie a
that
lot of
movie
those
is
people
fucking
are in.
unreal.
You know,
so.
just me with the stories. That's my favorite part. He's like, I don't. Oh, he just ruined the story and possibly the night.
Stories.
See, we found the good in it.
That
The good was Adam
easily
Scott.
His first role I ever saw him in.
We miss you, buddy.
Can't believe
So
how
watch
good
Krampus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Watch
I re-
Step Brothers. Watch Leap Year, also
We
starring
saw-
Adam Scott.
we saw Step Brothers like the last week that it was in theaters because I wasn't that interested. And as soon as Adam
Yeah.
Scott came on, I was like, okay, I love this.
It's the
movie.
singing
This is
singing
great.
scene, I
Like,
think, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Where and he's like yelling at Catherine
Han.
Hedwig or whatever,
Yeah.
like because she
I
can't
can
sing good.
Oh, because he
Oh,
could
Kevin-
go higher. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they almost crash. I was like, okay,
Right.
now I know what movie you guys
Yeah.
are making, and I'm on board. You know.
So good.
So yeah, guys, in my final thoughts,
Yeah.
watch Step Brothers.
If you're still awake, put Krampus on. It might be okay.
Yeah.
Watch Step Brothers. Check out Krampus afterwards.
Eat some prime rib or whatever you're gonna do for
Yeah.
Christmas.
But thanks. Yeah, well, we have one more
Okay.
Christmas episode.
Hold up on that ham.
So we'll
Wait,
see
when
then.
is it gonna come out? This next one, because Christmas is in 1 week.
Yeah, this one comes out tomorrow, and the next one comes out
hold
on
on.
Christmas
I didn't
Eve.
announce
On
it.
Christmas
So
Eve.
It comes
Oh,
out
we're doing
tomorrow on
okay.
December 18th.
Oh yeah.
That is my birthday.
Yes.
1 week before JC. Woo!
Ooh, happy birthday, William.
The Chicago
birthday.
birthday boy.
I think the best way to celebrate is by liking
Absolutely.
and subscribing our channel.
Help
If
me
you
get
live
that
in
We'll get
Chicago,
paid.
track William down to tell him
Hell
happy
yeah.
birthday.
Take a picture. We want to see
I
it.
will.
We want to see it real legit. But, well, thank you guys. We'll see you next week with another Christmas classic. And then have a good before Christmas. We'll see you next week. Stop.